Money. We all want more of it, right? The thrill of risking it all on the spin of a wheel or the roll of some dice for that life-altering chance to win big. That's the insidious allure of gambling that has hooked millions worldwide into the vicious cycle of addiction. But before we get too deep into the dark side of this vice, hey there everyone. Welcome to this eye-opening exploration of what makes some people so vulnerable to developing a gambling disorder. If you find yourself gripped by this topic as we descend into the harrowing depths, do me a favor and subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss out on more hard-hitting content like this. Now, where were we? Oh yes, the siren song of easy riches through gambling. It always starts innocently enough. Maybe a night out with friends at the local casino, betting a few bucks here and there on some blackjack or the slot machines just for fun and casual entertainment. You feel that first rush of adrenaline as the cards get dealt or those reels start spinning. Your heart starts racing with the intoxicating possibility of striking it rich with the next roll or pull of the lever. And then it happens, you win. Not a life-changing jackpot or anything, but that solid payout hits your hand, and an unmistakable euphoric feeling washes over you. You found yourself gripped by the legendary gambler's high, as your brain gets an intoxicating dopamine injection, telling you this feeling is amazing. We need to do this again. Those feel-good neurotransmitters start overriding your rational thinking in the heat of the moment. Just like that, you were hooked by the tantalizing taste of that win. So of course you had to keep gambling, feverishly chasing that elusive high again and again and again. But the losses inevitably start stacking up too as the game's odds turn against you over time, as they're designed to do. You rationalize it, falling back on those toxic mantras that every gambling addict tells themselves. I'm just a few spins away from my lucky streak. I've got a system, a hot hand. I just need to keep riding it. If I just stay at it long enough, all these losses will get wiped out by one huge payout sooner or later. This is the dangerous spiral of desperation and justification that ensnares so many towards full-blown gambling addiction. Certain psychological risk factors and personal backgrounds make some people especially vulnerable to falling into this destructive trap that can ruin lives. A pre-existing chemical imbalance or mental health condition like anxiety or depression that skews dopamine production and creates an endless seek for that elusive high feeling to escape inner turmoil. Growing up around a family environment that frequently engaged in or even glorified gambling as a normal form of recreation and risk-taking. This normalizes the exposure and addiction pathway from an early age. An addictive personality with genetic and behavioral inclinations drawing them towards other dependencies like alcohol, drugs, video games, or thrill-seeking. Easy to swap addictions. Lonely, bored individuals looking for an exciting escape and dose of adrenaline from their mundane, repetitive reality and daily grind. Gambling provides that rush. Intense competitive personalities desiring to beat the casino or other gamblers. This ego creates a cycle of continually needing to get even after losses by doubling down. Those suffering from traumatic events or anxiety disorders, seeking gambling as an unhealthy coping mechanism to create irrational senses of control or redemption. The list of risk factors and emotional vulnerabilities goes on and on. The key is being able to recognize the signs and triggers within ourselves before that slippery slope towards full-blown addiction takes hold for good and creates life-altering consequences. Because at the end of the day, the house always wins eventually. No gambler, no matter how smart or disciplined they think they are, can overcome the statistical odds and financial modeling stacked against them in casino games over the long run. Fortunes get wiped out, careers get derailed, families get torn apart, all in pursuit of that elusive life-altering score that realistically, only a tiny fraction of gamblers ever achieve before inevitably going bust. Just ask the scores of gambling addicts who hit true rock bottom, Like Scott from California, who gradually blew over $500,000 of his savings and college funds for his kids chasing jackpots in Vegas and online. He ended up having to declare bankruptcy and is still digging himself out of that hole today. Then there's Sheila from New York, who lost her job and her home while racking up over $100,000 of debt from her gambling addiction. She recalls feeling so euphoric after her first few big wins at the Native American casino by her house that she got instantly hooked on trying to chase that high again and again until it consumed her every waking hour and left her life in ruins. Or Jamal from Atlanta, who took things to the next criminal level when his gambling losses piled up faster than he could afford. First, it was racking up massive balances on credit cards he couldn't pay off, then borrowing money from less than reputable lenders. When that dried up, Jamal turned to insurance fraud, theft, and even robbery just to get the funds to keep feeding his gambling for that one elusive big score that could dig him out. Needless to say, he ended up getting arrested, going to prison for 10 years and losing everything due to his gambling addiction. Once that cycle starts spinning out of control, the consequences can be absolutely brutal and life-altering. Yet the lure of that gambler's high makes it almost impossible to quit. For many gambling addicts, it doesn't even matter if they're playing for money anymore or just tokens with no monetary value. That escape into the adrenaline-fueled zone of rolls, spins, and wagers becomes more about just chasing the high than any prize. The neurochemical rush becomes the true addiction, just like the drugs and dopamine. So what's a thrill seeker to do? Is there any hope for escaping this vicious gambling addiction cycle once it takes hold? Certainly, with the right professional help, counseling, addiction treatment programs, and commitment to overcome it. Quitting cold turkey doesn't work for most due to the chemical hooks in the brain. Stepping away from the tables and distracting your mind with healthier indulgences is key. But it's a constant daily struggle to put that addiction behind them for good. Even just walking past a casino on the street and glimpsing the bright flashing lights and sounds of the slots can be enough to trigger a relapse temptation for recovering gambling addicts. The threat remains that omnipresent, always lurking in environments and advertising messaging designed purposefully to tease and tempt us at every turn. Are the fleeting highs and faint hopes of striking it rich truly worth sacrificing everything you value, your money, relationships, career, home, and personal dignity, time and again just to lose it all? Those are the crucial, potentially life-saving questions every gambler needs to ask themselves frequently when that addiction tries sinking its claws in again. Self-awareness and mindfulness is key to avoiding that quicksand entirely for the susceptible high-risk personality types prone to falling into the compulsive depths of gambling mania. Proceed with utmost caution, know your limits and triggers, and keep priorities of self-care in perspective. Otherwise, you may fall victim to joining the tragic ranks of gambling's countless addicts who stay perpetually trapped in that losing chase for the ever-elusive high that cost them everything along the way. The house always hauls in the greatest jackpot until you break free of their psychological grip. So stay woke and stay smart out there, my friends. Don't become another gambling addiction statistic before you know what hit you. The price of that thrill is never worth the inevitable downfall and self-destruction at the end of that road.